What is this? Is this the water?
Hello, everybody. I'm Chris.
I just looked at this and go, what is this? Did someone leave some vodka or is that the water? Someone put water in a shot glass. Hey, I'm Shane. Welcome to it.
Yes.
We're here to talk about inventory. It's finally out. And we're going to just go through some of the finer points. By all means, if you have any questions, throw them out.
Yes. In fact, you folks at home, follow along.
Follow along, please. If you haven't downloaded it, do so now.
Yes, we highly recommend that. In fact, with this, what we do recommend is, since we did a simultaneous release of Inventory 17 as well as a point release of Deploy 17, we do recommend that you upgrade to both because there are some wonderful integration issues that we had resolved in this one. So we do want you
to do that. If you don't,
that.
there are some wonderful integration issues you will have.
Yes, you can experience them at home, just like we were talking about, like paint by color. Anywho, we just want to jump right in to show you Inventory 17 because there's some really neat features here. There's a lot of small features that we kind of have riddled throughout this thing that I really want to point out. And since there are a lot, we really want to get to it.
All right.
So I'm just going to pull up the user guide here with the help. You can click the help button here.
Or hit F1. There's numerous ways you can do this.
You're probably familiar with how to open help documents. Here in the help, though, under the update notes section, voila, you can see them. They're glorious, beautiful. There is one major call that I do want to talk about real quickly with the known issues. For those who haven't heard, we are putting the agent feature back into beta status. So be aware. If you have issues, please do let us know about them, but know that there are issues that we're currently working through.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and unfortunately, a lot of them are architectural issues. It just it hammered our environment. We weren't expecting it.
Yep.
So our apologies. We're working to address that, but these aren't small, inconsequential issues. So we did put it back into beta.
Yep. So anyway, with the update notes here, we'll just I'm not going to leave this up, but all these additions are the new little features that we have added. So there's quite a few here. So we'll just get started. First off with the ability to prioritize queued scans. This has been a request, I believe, that has been quite popular. I think people have been asking about this for a while. The whole idea, and before I show you, in fact, I'm going to go to the preferences and limit the number of concurrent scans just to better show you this. If I limit it to 2, for example, I'm going to kick off a bunch of scans here, just a few, and then you'll see that they get queued up, as you're probably familiar with. The new option you can do is to select the ones that you're like, oh my goodness, this has to get done first, like Fry. Fry's important to me. I'm going to right click on this and do prioritize this scan. Now, it'll continue executing the current scans, but it'll become next in line when it's ready.
As you can see, it's in a queued priority status right now. If you can, if you can squint and see that, but then it went right into running.
Yep.
So yeah, it's the LIFO method, last in, first out.
Yes, exactly. So that also means that if I prioritize this one and then prioritize this one and then prioritize these two.
Yes.
Guess which ones happen first, unless there's like timing issues because you happen to prioritize right at the moment of something else clearing up. Anywho, like for example, Council of Ricks just kicked off probably because there was just that timing of, hey,
it had already kicked off, but hadn't maybe quite made connection yet. But basically, it was already off.
Yep.
And once it's off, running to talk to that, that's considered an open session.
Yes. So. This is a good way for you to jump in line for scans rather than having to, abort everything and then start everything over again just to get, 2 computers scanned. Especially for those that have more than, in our case here, more than 35 machines. That might actually be a long time that you might have to wait.
Go ahead and let's change that back from 2 to...
What? You don't like concurrent scans of 2? Oh, 32.
There we go.
Awesome. So, anywho, that is a good feature that you can actually use to just kick things up in line.
Absolutely.
All right. Another one, this is another popular one that we've talked about, is, we're just going to pull up Beth here, is from the applications page inside this computer details window. If you find an application and are wondering to yourself, I want to create a collection about this, but how would I do that? Hence, or heretofore, there's words, I had to close this and go create a dynamic collection and do all this legwork like an animal. Instead, now I could be all fancy. Watch this action. I'm right-clicking. New dynamic collection. Bam.
So it will grab in this case, the application name. We're not going to grab the version in this case. We're not going to make all these. There's so many things you could say. The publisher and no. We're going to help you out. It's not going to probably do everything you want unless you're only looking for something that has Google Chrome. But this is a good starting point.
Yes,
and it saves you from copy pasting and figuring it out.
Right, and then here you can actually add another filter for the application version should you choose, not agent. Application version, should you choose to do that. We just didn't want to make too many assumptions, because if we add more by default, and a lot of you don't like that means you have to delete filters every time you use this feature.
So this is just a jump start to get you where you want to go.
So it's fantastic. Now I can have a collection called Google Chrome with applications for Google Chrome. I'll close this, go find it here in this list of, there you are.
Put it down there at the bottom.
And it'll update with all the people who have Google Chrome. All the people, almost, half of them, a third of them, 2/3.
No,
Maths.
not half of the people that have Google Chrome. Half of the computers in our inventory have Google Chrome.
Okay.
Our inventory, it'll get you half there.
There's names on these computers. It's Bird Person. It's Council of Ricks, although that's not a person, that's a people. Anywho, great feature. So let us know about all of these. I kind of want to know what you think. I'm just kind of throwing it out there because we do have a lot here, and I do like them. So just moving on, though. This is probably one of my favorites of this entire release, is right here, this needs reboot column for the whether or not you need to know, whether or not the computer needs a reboot. We actually added not only the indication that, hey, it needs a reboot.
Well, we've had that for a while, the yes. People say, okay, this needs a reboot, but the follow-up is often why.
Yep.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I can hover over this and it tells me, oh, Core OS files, cool. What does that mean?
We'll click on yes.
Yes. Legasp.
So so here there's the simple version, and then here's.
Let me get that centered a little bit. Yep.
And let's go to the one below it. Let's see what that one says. Crucibot. Oh, this one has quite a few.
Yeah, it does.
So Core OS files, and then obviously it lists all the files that are basically going to undergo a rename operation at the next reboot.
Yes.
So,
this is especially helpful when I know we've all seen this. Raise your hands at home. If you've rebooted a machine that needs to be rebooted, and then it comes right back up and says, oh, still need a reboot. Well, why? Well, this should help you track down why.
And keep in mind, this is also obviously as good as the last scan.
Correct.
So.
Additionally, just not from this interface, because maybe you don't have the needs reboot column there. I'm just going to drag and drop this off. Pop, there it goes. But say I wanted to know that. If I'm in the computer details window for a given machine, if I come up to the computer page, scroll down to the bottom here, needs reboot, same thing. I can hover over, get a little indication from the little pop-up, as well as click on this and see the same results. So just a couple different ways to get to that, which are handy.
I like that.
So kind of nice.
I think a lot of people are okay with just the yes. But once again, after you reboot, it comes back up. If it still says yes, you might want to give it a quick scan.
Yep.
And the scan that takes care of that, if we go over here into scan profiles, don't confuse profiles with scanner. But if I'm going to go into applications, I believe it's the computer details. The computer details scanner is, it grabs a number of things.
Yes.
OS, et cetera, et cetera. This is the scanner that you will need. So if you really want just a fast scan profile that you kick off, just have one that only contains computer details, and that'll grab that.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a question.
Dear Shane and Chris, can you filter on needs reboot based on type of reboot? Sincerely, Gene, the dancing machine.
Hi, Gene.
By type of reboot, based on type of reboot, or are you talking about, is that based on the reasons for the reboot, or when you say type of reboot?
I'm guessing if, and this is my assumption here, if I'm hovering over this or if I click on it and it shows that it's because of updating Core OS files, is that what you're trying to filter on? So based on the reasons.
Well, so these reasons, if you notice this, we're not actually opening the database. We're throwing these into just a text file that is generated when you click on this.
Yeah.
It's because that's a lot of data to throw into the database, especially data that's going to be coming and going so often. So really, you can't unless you wanted to script it and try to find it. Go ahead.
I do have one thought with the summary here, and this is again script kind of up the vein of scripting here. Is we do list where we're getting these from. So right here you can see the registry path that we're using, you can create a registry scanner to look for items that are here inside this pending file rename operations key in this particular case. But that's going to be case by case. So in this case, for this machine, should be CrockyBot, but it's Crucibot. This machine, I could create that registry scanner and scan for these files, and then have a dynamic collection looking for those. But it's, again, you're going to have to do some extra footwork for this.
Yeah, quite a bit, really, actually. So.
But yeah, good question. And so the answer is no.
As
really.
far as the data that you're seeing in that text file, no. Looking in that registry key and then looking at all the different reasons, yes. But it can be a little difficult to decipher, and you're gonna end up having a lot of collections. So really, the best way natively is just to say, this needs a reboot, this doesn't need a reboot. We've already got a collection out there that says needs reboot because that value is set to true.
Yep.
And then you can just schedule those for a reboot.
Yep. These ones need reboot. That's going to update the membership. Yay.
When I say schedule for a reboot, the most common way of doing that is from PDQ deploy. You have a PDQ deploy package that simply executes the reboot or shutdown a step. So because you don't schedule reboots in inventory,
right?
You can initiate a reboot.
You can do them. You can do a tool that does the shutdown or reboot. But again,
It's not a schedule.
Right. Cool. Good question though. All right.
Do we have any more questions? You want us to keep on going? All right.
Dear Shane and Chris, is there a way to specify the computers used as distributed wake on LAN relays? Sincerely, William Z.
There's a way to show. There's a new feature in here that will show you. Go ahead. It will show you which one was used.
Correct. Not to whom it'll pass through. You can't choose who it's going to go through.
Right now, when we do wake on LAN, there's actually quite a few things that happen, under the sheets.
Right.
And one of those, but pretty much the last one, we'll do the broadcast, and we'll do a directed broadcast, and just because we know that all of you have different settings in your environment that prohibit broadcasting. And the final thing is we will find a machine that if we haven't, we'll find a machine that's on the last known subnet of this target that's online, and then we will try to send it through that. It'll be a broadcast. We'll contact that and have that machine send the broadcast out. Since it's on the same subnet, it should work. But there we go, Fry. So this one was sent through Fry. Fry was never designated as a relay.
Right.
It's whatever online machine, Windows machine, is on that subnet that we grab, and we're just going to look for the first one.
Yes. In fact, one of the things with this one though that I do want to call out, and with this specific example, is we're on a different domain. We're crossing subnets. You can do this, and that's the whole reason for distributed wake on LAN that we have. And so this waking up of Marcellus Lab here is being sent via Fry on. Both of these are in different. They can reach each other, but different domains, which is separate from everybody here. Yeah. And so it's just something to be aware of, that this is really handy for tracking down what happened.
It's cool. And yeah, it's not a domain issue. It's really a subnet issue, because almost everybody has their routers, their switches set to not allow broadcast traffic out. So.
Yep. But it's kind of a nice little addition. I can't remember. I think it might also be logged in the in the event logs as well. Is that correct, Colby? Do you happen to remember?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's there in the event logs as well. So you can actually search for it, ideally through PowerShell, because it's awesome and faster, much faster than the actual event viewer. But I digress. All right. So, do
you want to look at the columns?
Let's do it.
Because not only, there's you removed the needs reboot.
I want to add it back.
Yeah, let's show people how they can add that back. So he clicked on that uppermost corner. You can also go to the view menu and do it.
Yep. Anyway, we're going to go here because it's super easy for me. Let's say we want to go back to that needs reboot column. So I'm just going to, N comes before R. I'm just going to double click that. Oh, it's at the bottom. What am I going to do? I'm going to drag and drop this all the way up to where I wanted it before. And hey, there it is. I'll just kind of squeeze this down. You'll see it's up there. And it's back. Now, the great thing is you can do this with multiple columns now. So say I wanted to move uptime and online over to the left of needs reboot. I could select, uptime and online, drag and drop them up here, and they move.
Instead of just one at a time.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, you can still do the one at a time here if you're just saying, hey, I want I want to get OS over here. You can just do the drag over.
Yeah.
But remember, I mean, as you saw what Chris did, he just said, if I want to remove a column, simply just drag it up. You'll see that X, that will be removed, and then you have to either click here or go back into View, Edit Columns. That's probably off the screen to edit those columns. You can also do that from the Preferences menu.
Yeah. Really handy, a lot easier, especially when you're setting up a machine and you have a lot of columns that you want to move and just get configured. This saves a bunch of time.
Good.
So it's a good one. Another thing that we did, which is less of a feature, more of a clarification for a feature, is this target service.
The least used feature, and I'm kind of grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I'm still surprised we ever made it. This has been around forever.
Yep.
Surprised we kind of made this available from the GUI because we've only had a small, teeny fraction of users ever do this. Because when you make this change, you're making it globally for your entire environment.
For everything, and it affects where your inventory scanner is going to do its stuff on the target machine. And so if I was to change this, for example, to PDQ and the local path on the target machines, PDQ, they have to have this directory on their machine.
They have to have C, PDQ on the root of C.
Correct.
And then they need to have the share named PDQ.
And they also have to have permissions for your scan user credentials to have full control, or at least read and write availability on that folder. So there's a lot of setup that goes into this, and for those who I've seen who try and set this up, often don't get it right all across the board, then you end up with weird scan errors.
The reason for this is if your environment, if your company or organization does not allow the access of the admin dollar share.
Right here.
Admin dollar share is by default your Windows directory. It's the $ obviously makes it hidden, but admin dollar share is built in. There are some companies that say we don't allow access to admin dollar.
Yep.
In that case, we've made a way for people to still be able to use PDQ products. It's just you can't make this change on one or two computers. It's got to be all or nothing.
Yep. So it's there. We changed the wording to be a little more clear for those that do need to use this setting, that don't run into so many problems. But
yeah, it was a little confusing before. I guess
was.
hardly anybody ever used it,
Yeah.
or if they did, they realized they broke something quite
what
quickly.
have I done? So anywho, another really cool thing that we did for those of you who use Central Server is remove the necessity of having to input a new license to replace their expired license for clients that connect to a server in
just the
Central Server
client,
mode.
just the client consoles.
Correct. Just to kind of show you what I mean here, I have Jerry and I have Rick set up both on Inventory 16 Release 6, the previous release, and the license that I have them set up on is just an old one that expired at the beginning of the month. It's fantastic. With that, just to show you kind of what can happen to a client in the current mode, if I change the license to something new, say I preemptively change it before upgrading, I'm just going to browse to one I have available. And with this one, I'm good on the server. I'm good on the client. I'm going to minimize and go back to Jerry here. Bam, problems, because I can no longer connect to the server. And if I try and reopen the console, it's going to say, these licenses don't match, because we've required clients to also put in the license prior to connecting.
So now in version 17.
Now it's better. In fact, I can even fix it without even updating Jerry here. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back to Rick, and I'm going to update, because there's a new version available. I can go download and install now. I'm going to go do that. And after it installs, because this feature exists, it's on the server. So once it starts up, I'll go back to Jerry. Even in version 16.6, it's going to reach out and say, hey, what do I want to do? I want to upgrade. And then we're going to open it up just like that. It makes it a lot easier for clients, for management of clients, to make sure they're on the same version and not have to worry about distributing license to everybody, especially in environments that have, 5, 10, 20, 30 clients that might be connecting.
And since we did show that license there, even though it's very long, remind me to blacklist this one. Well done.
Colby already marked that one as...
Thank you.
Yeah, we're no longer going to use that one.
I'm smart.
Actually, just before we came up here, I upgraded that one to a new one since it expires soon.
Good.
But I'll go blacklist that one.
People can use it for the next 15 minutes, I guess.
Yes. So client version here needs to be upgraded. Here we go. It's going to want to prompt to get 17.1, it's going to go find it quickly from the server since we're on the same network here and can reach it without having to go out to the web. And after it installs, rather than say, hey, this license doesn't match because I have the old license installed on Jerry here, it's just going to say, hey, server, you got the license. I'm going to trust you. And I can come up here into Jerry and verify that, in fact, the license is pointing to the one that I changed it to. So, anywho,
There you go.
the one that's going to be shortly blacklisted. Science.
Well done.
But anywho, that's a great feature. It's going to be a time saver for many of you. Yeah.
Sweet.
Excellent.
You want to talk about the server host name variables?
Yes, those are great.
And if there's any other questions, by all means, just let us know, Kelly.
So, in variables, on the system variables tab, we have a bunch here for the package library. I'm going to show you a trick that if you guys don't know, you should use. I'm hitting Control F to filter this, and I'm going to look for PDQ. And here's these variables that you would not otherwise know about. And these are fantastic. For those of you who might want to create collections based off any of the version information or the host information for inventory or deploy, maybe in deploy, since these will also be in deploy, you want to create packages that reference one or the other. I mean, there's a lot of
Packages that
there.
reference the server.
Yes.
In this case, the server is called Guinness.
Yep.
Or if you're making a different connection, you want to say what's the port. There's the variable. There's the variable right there for the PDQ deploy server port,
Yep.
etc.
So
Obviously, the reason why they're grayed out is because these are system variables. These are controlled by us, set up into to our cloud servers. The custom variables you can always set for yourself.
yep, it's nice, and so enjoy them. Find creative ways to use them. We'd like to know about them if you come up with anything super fancy. But
Yeah, that was the result of quite a few requests.
oh yeah.
So.
Another minor thing, going back to the preferences, for those, just an extra call out. If you ever have a password field, doesn't matter what password field it is, could be for the credentials, could be for the mail server here. If I'm typing something and I have my caps lock on, it's going to actually have a little pop-up that says, hey, you've got the caps lock on, to give you a little bit of a visual indicator that your password might be wrong, likely wrong. So,
As you're setting that up.
yep, and I just lost my mouse. Let's go back. Okay.
Do you want to look at the license? Did you want to call it something? I don't know
Sure.
if it's that important, but
Let's do it. We added so up until now you've just seen the billing contact email here. Now you'll see the technical contact email as well. If I could do straight lines, I can't. It's there now, minus the straight line. So that's handy for those, especially when you have a separate billing contact from the people who use it. This is really handy to be able to get to contact who you need to contact to get
in your
a license.
organization, it's Bill is the person that cuts the checks for this or approved it. I don't need to ask him for the license. I need to go ask Terry.
Yeah. So that's nice, really super handy thing. But yeah, we also have added Windows Server 2019 to the default collections here in servers. So that's also available. So you can go see who has Server 2019 in your environment. Maybe you don't know who.
And if you didn't watch last week's, while we didn't make changes to tools, really want to drive home the fact that build your own tools. Figure out what utilities you use in your environment, and there's a really good chance you'll be able to integrate those with PDQ Inventory. For instance, if you have a script that you have to run, or just some utility, a remote control utility that you use, you can usually integrate that as long as there's a command line way to call that program and to set the parameters. You can create a tool to say, hey, I use Dameware remote control. I want to go out and I've selected this computer in inventory. I just want to initiate a Dameware remote control session.
TeamViewer,
teleadmin or TeamViewer or something. As long as there's a command line that you can do, you can build that tool.
Yes, and for those who are PowerShell savvy or want to be, or, well, you should be. I kind of take the sky's the limit approach with these, because if there's something on a target machine that I want to grab as part of a tool, as part of a command line utility somewhere, whether it's a remote control utility, whether it's a diagnostic utility or information gathering utility, I can do that all in PowerShell and go reach out to the target, run my PowerShell stuff, and get that data back into the system here.
Hey, really quick, let's open up one that has a variable. Probably like the OpenSSH down there probably does.
Yeah.
So this is a PowerShell tool. And if you notice, there we go. There's the use of of a variable. Here we're saying we're going to connect to this computer. Well, what computer? We don't want to hard code a computer in there. That's where the variable comes in.
Right.
And you can access those variables with those buttons on the side. The computer target or target host name is a great way because whatever computer is selected, that's just that value of that computer host name is going to be placed in the variable.
Yes. In fact, it's a little bit. You're going to see them when you click the button here, but you're not going to see them here in the system or in the custom. These are kind of a special variable. They're placeholders. And so you'll see them here. We have them in our documentation. But like Shane says, they kind of fill it in as you're based off whoever you're selecting. If I select Fry, run this, it's going to put target hostname Fry in quotes there and save it as the variable target on this line. So it's
one of those things that I think for both you and for me when we are asked, and we are asked, as I've gone out to different customers, a few of them have said, "Hey, what's like you're here? What's one feature you wish people would know about or use more?" And I'm like, tools, absolutely tools. Because as Chris said, the sky's the limit. A lot of these questions that come in on these webcasts are, can you do this? And sometimes you see us pause because, well, natively, no, but there's a way you can do almost anything if you want to script it.
yes.
And we expose that functionality so that basically you have to fill in the blanks.
Absolutely. And it is just one of the best. It is probably my single favorite thing about PDQ Inventory.
Out of all the things,
Tools, the ability to do that and affect those changes on multiple machines is just, be still my heart.
yes.
So,
And for those of you, yet again, we find a lot of you are not using reports. You're just using collections. Reports can give you access to data that collections just really can't. So we'd invite you to jump into reports and look at some videos that we have on reports and even auto reports. Let's do that.
Speaking of which, you can actually get to the reboot reason column in a SQL report.
oh, cool. Let's pull that
It's
up.
called simple reason for reboot
Oh, fantastic.
in the computers table.
So what Chris is doing right now is creating a new report. I'm sitting here telling them to go to reports, and then you go to the most advanced one. And now people are going, I'm never going to go to reports. So after this, we're going to cleanse the palette and show them just a basic report.
This is fantastic. Okay. Well, if you know SQL, this is awesome.
The SQL
and fun.
report. SQL. There's two types of reports, right? There's the basic. there's the SQL. Obviously SQL is where you have to write in your own SQL, but boy, it really gives you access to the ability to do a deep dive and display information. The basic. There we go.
That's cool.
Unfortunately, the SQL aspect is only available for reports, not for collections.
Yes. That is fantastic. So I retract my statement earlier for that question that if this is what you're looking for.
Well, actually, if this is available in SQL, is this been made visible in Basic? Let's go to a Basic report.
I haven't been able to find it. I don't think it has. I remember
If it's available in SQL, we can make it available here.
I remember a ticket about this back when we were working on this feature, and I think there was a reason we didn't make it available in collections and basic reports, but
Like to
that
hear-
was so
I'd like
long
to hear
ago,
that
I don't
reason.
remember what the reason was.
Because all they've done there is effectively created a view, so we could, but we have to specify which views we allow. Anyway, this is a basic report, and this is what most of you will use when you're creating reports. It's the same logic really that you're doing when you're creating a collection. It's just the report also has the what do you want to display. There's not just the filters. That's why reports come in. I want to know all the I want to know all the applications on a particular computer or on computers in this. You know, once you start getting into that one-to-many relationships, that's where reports come in, not collections.
And they're handy. Just, oh, man. You can do lots of advanced things, especially if you can do, walk the SQL walk here. Like one of the, I've seen a question come up occasionally, well, actually more often than not, of how can I show a list of all the machines and whether or not they have an application and what version it is. You can do that relatively simply in a SQL report. Using a case statement inside the select query itself. And if you're interested, reach out. I'm happy to share it, or maybe another webcast or blog. It's it's just knowing SQL allows you to make some really good summaries and ties in for the data that you have in the inventory database. Be still my heart. Still.
Yeah, let's do some questions.
Dear Shane, dear Chris, Did the upgrade to Inventory 17A and deploy 17.2. Great work. I would like to know if on scheduling deployments you have once, interval, daily, weekly, and monthly. Can you add weekdays? I would like to schedule our auto deployment to start in the mornings at 8 and have it stop every day at 5. Thanks ahead of time, Tommy T.
Yes. Let's do this.
Yeah, he's going to be setting that up, but I'm pretty sure I know where Shane's going with this.
This is my. I'm getting a lot of static in my. I'm getting a lot of static here. 1 second here.
But this is a common thing because a lot of people have things that want to run just during business hours. They want stuff that's just run during the weekends.
So are you showing this? Go ahead and show this. In fact, I'll cancel out so that you got that, JJ. Show the screen.
Thanks.
All right. So we've opened up deploy.
Yeah.
Say I want to deploy this Firefox, but I want to schedule it. Pardon me. That was the question. So we're going to create a schedule, and we're going to go into the triggers. And if you click weekly, what you need to do is actually click on this little drop down. In the drop down, you'll see all weekdays, weekend days, and then you can break it down. Weekly doesn't mean only once a week. It means weekly on
Given
Monday.
days.
In this case, Monday and Thursday.
Yep.
But you could also just say weekends or weekend days, Sunday, Saturday, right? So yes, the answer is go to the weekly trigger and then do the drop down and you'll see those available. And slam dunk for you.
If that helps. It should.
Dear Shane and Chris, with both deploy and inventory upgrading to 17 at the same time, should you upgrade one over the other first? Thanks, Dustin M.
Hi, Dustin. Short answer, no. Long answer, not really. Shouldn't have to in most cases.
Long answer no with just some extra qualifiers.
There are, let me rephrase that. I know while we were in the middle of our testing, Colby might be able to speak a little more to this. We saw some weird occurrences occasionally depending upon the order you upgraded them, but they appeared to be very, very, very uncommon and possibly just linked to our testing environment. I mean, do you have anything additional to that I'm forgetting?
I've had the best luck with doing inventory first and then deploy. It seems like if you restart the inventory service, sometimes that makes deploy mad, and so then restart the deploy service, and then they're both happy.
Yeah.
I will call out, since we're talking about doing this in conjunction, when you're doing, I mean, obviously inventory, if you upgrade inventory, it's going to stop that background service. It's going to abort any scans.
Yeah.
Generally not a big deal, but make sure you don't have any schedules that are, or any concurrent or scans that are currently deploying, or if you're gonna have a schedule that's meant to kick off in 3 minutes, you might want to reconsider that. Just if you upgrade deploy, and when you upgrade deploy, if there are any deployments going on, they will be aborted.
Yep.
So that's something that's very important to remember.
Yeah, but generally speaking, you shouldn't have a problem. So if you do, we kind of actually want to know about it, so let us know, please. Right into our wonderful solutions team at support@pdq.com.
And by we mean Chris.
Yeah, I will.
I
things.
just enjoy sitting back and thinking everything's wonderful.
Life is good.
Never been a problem.
Ever. I mean,
Do not disabuse me of that wonderful notion.
Hey Shane and Chris, this is in reference to the agent beta. Should we avoid installing it on our domain computers? Concerned it may be causing unnecessary traffic and latency. Thanks, Marvin M.
hello, Mark.
I would generally at this point we'd say no. I mean this first instantiation of it was meant to kind of address those computers that are off-site.
Yeah.
And even that, we're saying please be careful. Realize this is in beta. For those people that have put it on all their computers, especially when they have hundreds or thousands of computers on their domain, you're going to actually be causing a little bit more, probably some more pain than necessary. So we actually have some logic in there to say, hey, this has the agent, but it's currently accessible the old way.
Right.
It's
internal
on our network. Yeah, it's considered internal. And so we'll utilize the internal stuff. We would recommend that you not do it, but mostly just because of the headaches we've seen with the beta of Agent.
Right, and for the most part, internal, unless you need something specific about the agent, like the log on, log off stuff, there's no need to have it because you can do everything else internal anyway. It's just when we're talking about external targets, and if we're talking about that and you do need them, feel free to use it. Just understand that we've kind of taken a step back saying, you know what, our infrastructure was not ready to handle what the massive popularity with this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to focus on that while you, the audience at home, decipher what that means to your environment.
So we don't have any agents here on this one. If you want to uninstall, it's very simple.
Yes.
Right. You'll see agent if you look at the agent status or agent version. You could basically we don't have it on there, but you can right click on a computer.
Yes. So one of the things that I like to just go into the
Okay. Well,
machine
I
itself.
think you can also do it from
Yeah.
the menu.
It requires central server mode, is what I want to point out. We can't even attempt to install it without that. So you're going to see the ability to install or uninstall here. You'll also have context menus for that, but since we are not in
Central server mode.
you will not see that. But
It is very simple, especially if those computers are online. Just get those uninstalled if you don't need it. And if those computers are on your network, we would recommend that you take the agent off.
Here it is. I remembered that on RIC I had it in central server mode, so just pulling it up. If I right click on this machine RIC, you're going to see that install or uninstall agent beta. So there it is.
Cool.
And it's time for the speed round.
Oh, good.
Dear Shane and Chris, for applications installed in AppData, will the application list in inventory only show the program as installed if it is installed for the current logged-in user? Thanks, Matt Z.
Okay, so that's a good question. If I understand that, you're just saying, hey, there's an application that's installed per that user. We scan the computer, that user's logged on, we will show that application.
Yes.
If that user logs off, especially if another user logs on and a scan takes place, then that old one will get removed. Yeah, we only show the user that was logged on and grabbed at that time.
Right, and this is all stored in the registry, I believe, that we're pulling this from. And if the user's not logged on, effectively their registry is not loaded.
Yeah, their Hive is not loaded. So.
Correct. And so we can't get that information without loading that separately, which is discouraged.
We made a decision not to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could go when we're scanning. I mean, technically, we've been able to do this for years. You could go and say, oh, I'm going to load every single user's Hive and scan that. But then you have to unload it, and there could be timing issues if somebody tries to load that at the time, and we just don't. We're terrified of corrupting somebody's user.dat.
Right there. If you still are interested, however, I do have a blog about just that very topic with massive disclaimers at the top saying, be wary, traveler, because it can be fraught with failure and issues and corruptions, but you can do this with easily.
In fact, if we can find that and throw that in the bonus content or something, if we can find Chris's blog from your...
Yeah, long time ago in a galaxy here.
I think I found it.
All right, thank you.
There you go, Cole.
Dear Shane and Chris, my OUs are a hot mess. How can I let PDQ Inventory scan the domain and exclude any server objects from scanning? Another team owns them. Thanks, /Q.
Right. So if your OUs are a mess, so it sounds like you've got servers and all these different OUs that you need computers from some of the OUs where the servers exist. That's what I'm hearing. What I would recommend doing, and maybe Chris, I'll let you chime in, but what I'd recommend doing, since a computer can only exist in one OU,
Yes.
And you said they're a mess or whatever, you can't just move all the servers to one, I'd recommend using security groups.
Yeah.
Now with a security group, also just known as an Active Directory group, you just have to kind of specify that computer objects are allowed. It's an extra step when you're in AD to say, hey, I'm going to create a group for servers, and then you have to say computer objects are allowed as members. And then throw all of those servers that are not owned by you into this server group.
Yep.
And once you do that, you can still go into your Active Directory panel in your preferences and do an exclude container. Remember, container does not just mean OU. It means OU or Windows Security Group. So you can scroll down, find a group that do we even have groups in here? If there's a group, you'll see it here. It's got a different icon. Select that group. Remember, you did exclude. So when you exclude that security group that has all those servers, even if it's an OUs that you have specified to grab, it'll just remove them.
Yep.
So that's what I'd recommend. Is Is that, were you going to say something?
Yes, and but in addition to that, because I figured that's the direction you're going, I do want to call out that one of the options we have here creates collections for those groups, just in the main tree of a PDQ inventory. So you can actually see that under the appropriate place, if there is a security group.
We just got called out for going too long on the speed round. Security groups.
Dear Shane, dear Chris, is there a default report for all computer details for a single server and then for a collection of servers? Thanks, Chad S.
No.
Nope. Here's the default reports. Give or take anything I may have added. Nope. Default reports. There they are.
So that's something that you'll need to go in there and create, really.
I recommend SQL.
Dear Shane and Chris, what is on the roadmap for the next version that did not make the cut this time? Thanks, Jason A.
Jason, throwing down. Do you want to talk? You want to give him a quick, maybe a sneak peek into deploy?
I don't know. I just want to give sneak peeks about everything. I'm so wary about doing that, just in case it breaks my heart and we have to push it back a version.
No. Next. You'll like it, Jason. You'll like it.
Yes, and I can guarantee if you're like me, which maybe you're not, which is probably a good thing.
No, Jason's rather intelligent, so that already means he's not like you.
Good. Good? I'm slow. Inventory 18 is one that I'm going to be looking forward to. Oh, thanks. Oh, wait. Inventory 18, if that's what you're talking about, or if you're talking about deploy 18, deploy 18's going to be great. In my opinion, because I happen to be, I love inventory. I love both our products, but inventory is my love between the two of them.
The reason I said deploy is because that's actually set to feature complete for 18. So we kind of know what features are going in there. Inventory is still kind of open.
Yes, and if it all works out to what I prefer, inventory 18 is just going to be massively awesome and is going to just tingle my heartstrings.
And I think we've talked about the feature that we're planning on for Inventory 18 multiple times on the webcast.
Have we?
Yeah, I think we have. So can we mention it?
Oh, if we've mentioned it,
as long as we're not contractually obligated to produce it.
Yes, there's
this version.
that.
We'll do it eventually.
What is it? Go ahead, Colby.
Yeah. Mention it.
PowerShell scanner.
I'm hoping that makes it too.
Yes.
I'm hoping that makes it too. Yes. We do know the PowerShell scanners is one of those. All right, now when you ask, can I collect something?
Yes.
Can I collect something and from a scanner?
Yes.
And report on it with a PowerShell scanner. The world is your oyster.
All the things can be gathered.
Boy, now we've just really committed ourselves. Thanks, Copster.
Yep, you're welcome.
This might be self-serving though for us.
And our final question of the day, I want to replace SCCM with PDQ for patching. What kind of options does PDQ have so it can pick the server closest to the host like SCCM DPs work with boundary groups? Thanks, /Q.
At this point, so we don't have the native functionality in there to do that, but Lex has a fairly comprehensive video series on using DFS, if you've got DFS. So if you use DFS, Microsoft's DFS, with in conjunction with PDQ, PDQ deploy, then when you're deploying out there, it will just kind of turn that over to DFS because you're just going to say, I'm going to deploy, my host files, my source files live on this namespace, and then we let all that logic happen from DFS. So.
Exactly, and what you're going to want to change is the path to the repository and store them in that DFS namespace, because then it'll pull from the appropriate ones based off DFS configuration. So.
Well, all right, everybody. Chris, thanks, man. Chris, you can tell he is in love with inventory. You're kind of like Brig, and as am I. So, number one, we apologize for how long it took to get this one out. We have been making a lot of changes to allow us. It's kind of a paradox to allow us to get features out a little faster.
Yep.
But as we've been scaling and getting more customers, kind of the old way wasn't hacking it. So we had to make some serious changes, and so that's really why it is. We're trying to make it kind of a framework so that we can get a regular cadence out for our releases. But like I say, paradoxically, that did cause us to have a slower release initially. We're going to be picking that pace up quite a bit.
Oh boy, will we! Consider it the best spring cleaning you've ever not done.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Spring cleaning with fist fights. How's that sound?
Ooh.
Hey, rock on, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.
Yep.
See ya.
Well,
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Marvin M. and Gene C., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to our support forums. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.